March 27th, 1999. The night the myth of invisibility was shattered. High above Serbia, the F-117 Nighthawk, America's prize stealth aircraft, cut through turbulent clouds, invisible to enemy radar. But in the darkness below, an old Soviet-era missile system and a patient commander were watching. Moments later, a fireball ripped across the sky. A $42 million symbol of technological dominance had fallen to a weapon built in the 1960s. The event stunned the world, proving that no machine is beyond reach. This wasn't just an aircraft lost. It was a confrontation between innovation and ingenuity, between unseen power and relentless pursuit. And at the center of it all were two men, one soaring in silent confidence, the other hunting in defiance of the impossible. This is their story, the night the Nighthawk fell from the shadows. Operation Allied Force had entered a critical phase. NATO's air campaign over Serbia aimed to cripple military infrastructure while avoiding civilian casualties. Lieutenant Colonel Darrell Zelko, a veteran U.S. Air Force pilot, was assigned a high-risk mission to strike the Serbian Air Force Command Center near Belgrade. His aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk, was built to be unseen, its radar signature smaller than a bird's. The mission plan relied on stealth and precision. Zelko took off from Aviano Air Base, Italy, under the cloak of night. His F-16 escorts turned back due to heavy clouds, leaving him alone in hostile airspace. Below him stretched one of the densest air defense networks in Europe, an invisible minefield of radar and missiles. Yet Zelko trusted his aircraft's design. The Nighthawk was silent, its black triangular frame absorbing radar waves and deflecting signals away. As he neared Belgrade, he descended through clouds to align with his target. Every second brought him closer to danger he could not see. Unknown to Zelko, radar operators on the ground were learning his patterns. They knew when stealth aircraft flew, what routes they favored, and how long their bomb bay doors stayed open. As the city lights of Belgrade flickered below, one man prepared to exploit that knowledge. Lieutenant Colonel Zoltán Dani, commander of the 3rd Battalion of the 255th Air Defense Brigade, had spent weeks studying NATO flight tactics. His unit's Soviet-built S-125 Niva missile system was considered outdated by most Western analysts. Yet Dani refused to accept defeat. He reconfigured radar frequencies, shortened transmission bursts, and rehearsed rapid relocations to avoid NATO's anti-radiation missiles. To his men, he was a strategist, always calm, always calculating. That night, Dani's radar crew worked in darkness, their screens alive with static and interference. Hours passed before a faint, unnatural signal flickered across the display. A blip, one operator whispered. Dani ordered the radar to lock on briefly, then power down. He waited, patient and focused. Moments later, the signal reappeared, stronger this time. The aircraft was real. He gave the command to prepare the launchers. At that same moment, high above, Zelko opened his bomb bay doors to release ordnance over the target. The action created a sudden, temporary radar reflection, just enough for Dani's system to seize the opportunity. Two missiles ignited with a blinding roar, streaking upward into the clouds. The first lost lock and drifted off. The second stayed true. Within seconds, the impossible had happened. Dani's antiquated radar had found and struck the most advanced stealth aircraft on Earth. Inside the cockpit of Vega 31, Zelko's world erupted in chaos. The second missile exploded beneath the left wing, shredding control surfaces and sending the aircraft into a deadly spin. Fire filled the cabin. His flight instruments blinked out one by one as the Nighthawk plunged from the sky. Struggling against gravity's crushing force, Zelko fought for control, but the jet was disintegrating. He pulled the ejection handle. In an instant, the canopy blew open, and the seat rocketed him into the freezing night. The air ripped at his body. For a moment, there was silence, then the sound of his own parachute deploying. Below, the ground was ablaze with searchlights and anti-aircraft fire. He landed in an open field, slamming into the wet soil. Quickly, he buried his parachute and survival kit, crawling into a shallow irrigation ditch. There, soaked and trembling, he activated his survival radio and sent the coded distress, Vega 31 down. For hours, he lay motionless as Serbian soldiers and villagers combed the countryside. A searchlight passed just meters away. At one point, a stray dog wandered near his hiding spot. He froze, gripping his pistol, then chose not to shoot. It would have given him away. Above him, the night hummed with danger and the faint hope that help was coming. Zelko's mayday triggered an immediate NATO response. At Aviano Air Base, rescue operations moved into high gear. A team of U.S. Air Force pararescue specialists and pilots prepared to enter enemy territory under heavy threat. Within hours, MH-53 Pave-Low and HH-60 Pave-Hawk helicopters lifted off, flying low over the Balkans to avoid detection. Every mile forward increased the risk of ambush or radar lock-on. On the ground, Zelko endured the long wait, submerged in mud and fear. The sound of footsteps came and went. At one point, he heard engines and shouts. Troops were closing in. His body stiffened as adrenaline surged. Then, faintly, he caught it, the rhythmic thump of rotor blades in the distance. Rescue was near. But there was a problem. His infrared strobe had malfunctioned. The rescue team couldn't see him. With enemy forces closing fast, Zelko took one final gamble. He fired a red flare into the night sky, lighting up the field like a beacon. Serbian troops would see it, but so would his rescuers. Within seconds, the helicopters descended. The pararescue team sprinted through gunfire, grabbed Zelko, and lifted him into the hovering craft. As they pulled away, tracer rounds filled the air. Against all odds, Vega 31 was alive and free. The downing of the F-117 Nighthawk sent shockwaves through the world. For decades, stealth technology had been considered the ultimate shield, a marvel of human engineering that rendered aircraft nearly invisible to radar. But on that cold night in March 1999, a weapon designed in the 1960s tore that illusion apart. The message was unmistakable. No technology is invincible. Every innovation breeds adaptation, and every edge invites a countermeasure. In Washington, defense analysts scrambled to understand how such a breach could occur. Engineers dissected radar logs, telemetry data, and missile signatures. The conclusion was humbling. The Serbs had not overpowered the Nighthawk with superior weapons, but with patience, discipline, and ingenuity. By predicting flight paths, limiting radar exposure, and exploiting fleeting moments, like the opening of bomb bay doors, they had achieved what many thought impossible. In Belgrade, the incident became a powerful symbol of defiance. Fragments of Vega 31 were recovered and placed in the Aviation Museum, displayed beside the aging S-125 launcher that struck it down. To many Serbians, it represented resistance against overwhelming odds, a David versus Goliath story written in smoke and fire. Yet even in victory, Zoltán Dani remained modest, often saying his success came not from luck, but from respect for the enemy. Years later, the world witnessed a remarkable reunion. In 2011, Darrell Zelko traveled to Serbia to meet the man who shot him down. Their meeting was calm, sincere, and deeply human. The two former adversaries spoke about fear, courage, and fate, finding more in common than they ever expected. Their handshake transcended politics and history, transforming an act of war into a moment of reconciliation. Today, the fall of the Nighthawk stands as a lasting lesson in humility. It reminds us that even the most advanced technologies are only as strong as the humans who wield them, and that respect, understanding, and adaptability are the true measures of strength.